Indiana Jones, Indiana. It's a podcast about Indiana Jones. Every movie, 1 minute at a time. Indiana Jones Minute.
Welcome back to the Indiana Jones Minute, the podcast in which we celebrate and discuss the film Raiders of the Lost Ark 1 minute at a time. I'm Tom Taylor.
I'm Pete Mummert.
I'm Gerald Christopher Marcus Porter.
And I'm Eric Wells.
Welcome back, Eric.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I wish I could say that we were out of the Well of Souls, but it's taken a while. It's 1,000 years at least, and we're only doing it minute by minute. So sorry.
So
about
it's gonna take a while.
Yeah.
Yes.
But minute 75, 1 minute at a time, begins with Indy rocking a giant Anubis statue loose, and it ends with Marion leaning against a gross thing and calling for Indy.
This is the part where Indy gets legit superpowers, because we're dealing with a couple 100-ton stone statue, but he's got no problem just rocking it back and forth.
Yeah. Although we had a guest on previously who suggested that maybe a lot of this stuff was made out of wood and then covered over with some kind of lacquer or something. So maybe that's a little bit maybe it'd be weaker and easier to bring
Even
crashing down.
Even wood would be pretty damn heavy.
Yeah.
I think maybe this is the first historical instance of paper mache.
Yeah, that stuff goes down easy, but then it doesn't bust the wall. It's really disappointing.
Well,
That's really the problem.
I was wondering what would happen. He clearly has one shot at this, and he's rocking it back and forth. He's rocking it back, and I think he even does literally a "here we go." And I wondered, what if Anubis goes the other way?
Yeah.
Right.
Because it's a little touch and go there for a second.
Yeah.
That's true.
Well, and if we're willing to step out of the movie here for a second, I saw some great behind the scenes stuff about this, and they actually did build it out of paper mache, kind of plaster of Paris, but it was still incredibly heavy, and it was built on hydraulics, so supposedly it would only fall in the right direction. But the stuntman was up there. It was actually a stuntman doing the fall, and it fell too soon. And so when you watch this scene, you can see him kind of hanging on for dear life as it starts to fall.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I remember that. I say this all the time. I sound like a huge nerd, but I remember that from the 1981 Making of Raiders of the Lost Ark special. And I can never see the scene without thinking, oh, that's the stuntman, and he's almost falling to his death. He's almost getting badly killed. But what's kind of awesome, this is actually a pretty special moment in the movie, because we joke a lot about Indy's just a clumsy grave robber who just, doesn't listen to his own classroom lecture about not disturbing Chamber 3 and everything. And here he is in 100% full throttle history mode. I'm going to take this giant statue and bust it through the wall of the Well of the Souls. And I don't give a...
Yeah, the worst part about that was, with the exception of the tooth, that was a mint condition Anubis.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what they would go for on eBay?
Straight up new old stock Anubis.
Still in the box.
Yeah.
In looking at this scene, I never thought of this before, but how does he know that's not a load-bearing Anubis?
Oh my God!
He's positioned holding up the ceiling. We know they're buried in sand. He could have brought just the whole thing down on him.
Oh my God!
It wouldn't be the first time he had done that with the temple.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. That's kind of his MO.
It's his whole raison d'etre. But what? Okay, now that we know he's destroying everything, I've always been a little unclear. Unlike the I guess the architect, the layout of the Well of Souls, and he sees a bunch of snakes coming through those holes. So I guess his thinking is that that's at least another room over there, or another chamber or something. Because I'm just trying to think of what does he think is going to happen when he busts that statue through the wall? Like, is that going to be outside, or is that just going to be another chamber that hopefully leads outside or something?
Well, I think he just knows that there's another chamber. I mean, remember, as Eric said, the Well of Souls was hermetically sealed, so it doesn't seem like there's any other exit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that just by the snakes and legless lizards popping through, I think he's like, okay, I at least know that there's got to be a space for them.
Right.
It's a gamble, a big one.
There's a space on the other side that's filled to at least 4 or 5 feet with nothing but snakes.
Snakes, exactly.
For a guy who hates
Exactly.
snakes, he's in a big hurry to get to a big pile of
Yeah.
snakes.
Well, I think that's because the torches are running out.
She's almost in Jerry Lewis mode there.
Yeah, that was
The torches are running out with the fire and the smoking.
What's weird is I want to know, has anybody ever stared at a torch right when it dies?
Marion has.
Yeah, she's just looking at it and it goes boop.
And she looks so pretty.
Yeah.
I love Marion.
It's like, has anyone ever licked the last lick of a Tootsie Roll Pop?
No, the world will never know.
And I did have a question before he gets destroyed. What is Anubis wearing? He's got like this short gold vest with matching armbands, and I mean he definitely looks like he works out.
Well, we know
got-
Han Solo likes vests.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he has like at least a 6-pack, maybe an 8-pack.
Yeah, this is the standard the standard look. It's he's wearing what we call a Wessex collar. So it's actually a big, huge necklace, and it was actually so heavy that they would wear counterbalances in the back that would hang off the back of their neck, so as not to just pull them forward. But yeah, I mean the gods are supposed to be in shape, so he's got that. He's got a kilt on, and then he's got a couple nice armbands on to show off his biceps.
He's looking good.
Yeah, it's a great look.
I hate to ask this, but this just occurred to me. I mean, we said before that usually you don't see Anubis snarling like this and stuff, so this version of Anubis is in question. Does that mean that like a movie like Night at the Museum has like a much more accurate and satisfying Anubis? Because there's a couple in that movie and they come to life and stuff, and they're just, big kind of sober, straight-faced dog men, buff and cool looking and stuff. I don't want them to have a leg up on Raiders of the Lost Ark, but it's possible they do.
Well, I mean, usually, they're depicted that way, but they would have, I think, in theory, they would have been fierce. So Anubis, the whole reason he's the god of the dead is the Egyptians would look at different aspects in nature, and they would look at imagery that was somehow related to something, and they would try to appropriate that power. So Anubis is the god of the dead because jackals are, carrion eaters. So what better thing to try to protect your corpse and protect you in the afterlife than these scavengers that they would see, pulling corpses out and ripping them apart. So,
Oh, wow.
so that he certainly would be thought to have that fierceness.
Yeah. Yeah, when I look at this, when we started talking about this a couple weeks ago, like, is this sort of embellished? I always had the sense, well, okay, if he's not snarling, then Marion can't grab onto his tooth, and Sala won't be as scared by him and stuff. Like, they just kind of, like, altered him, like, monkeyed with his appearance, his historical appearance, just to fit the needs of the movie and stuff.
It's always really interesting to me, the choices that set designers and the movie consultants make. I know a couple people who've consulted for different movies, and I know the Egyptologists who consulted on the Mummy, and the Mummy is really the best example because one of the standard things in Egyptology is there's 4 canopic jars. It's associated with your heart, your lungs, your 4 different organs. And in the Mummy, they needed to have 5 guys, so they just made an extra jar. You
For
know,
like
it's
the pancreas or
yeah. Who knows what it was for? Gallbladder, something random.
That's nothing. That's nothing like our movie. They would never do anything like that.
No. We're
I
very
actually
buttoned
don't.
down.
I actually don't think Indiana Jones is that bad. And the artistic stuff happens really all the time. It's. I have a friend who's way into kind of British period pieces and is one of those people who could tell you, oh, that style dress, that furniture, that's not Elizabethan. That would have been the next generation. And
Yeah.
and I mean that's the thing with Egypt is there's just lots of that mixing because they'll bring on a consultant who they pay lots of money to and they'll say, oh well, we're looking at about 1000 BCE and this is what Tanis would have looked like and this is what we think and then they say, okay, that's great. But just like you said, but we want Anubis to be kind of fierce. So let's go ahead and make him snarling and let's go ahead and show some teeth.
Well, we did have an expert on the set. We just didn't listen to him, but we had him here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He consulted with us and was flatly ignored.
Well, and when Indy crashes through the hieroglyph wall, and he lucks out, there's a chamber on the other side.
Good for you, Indy.
I noticed we had this question back a few minutes back. There are what appear to be standing sarcophagi.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
In the background. So I was wondering, again, are those mummies that are standing? And I think we concluded that no, mummies were never actually ever upright like that, but it could have been like a funerary statue or ornamentation.
Well,
yeah,
again,
could it have been like a new Shabti, or could it?
So this is a great example. They are sarcophagi, but this isn't how the Egyptians ever would have stored them. But this is how we see them in museums today. So they just put them upright. They're trying to save space. I mean, and again, these are things which weighed tons. These would have been, stone sarcophagi. They do the same thing in the mummy, right? Because you want a mummy to pop out, and if it's flat on the ground, that's not going to happen. So this is something where no, they're absolutely stone sarcophagi. At least that's what they're attempting to be, which then again brings in this whole aspect of mixing kind of a little bit of like temple, a little bit of city, a little bit of tomb. There's all these different kind of hodgepodge of elements together here.
God, that's exactly what I was gonna say. I love this minute. I was like, because it's like, oh, and maybe, you know what? Maybe that's why Yahweh was pissed at Shishak. Maybe they had, maybe it's like, well, let's just put him in the cemetery. Hey, let's just put the Ark of the Covenant in the cemetery. It's fine. We'll save a little bit, on the whole taxes and that kind of thing. We'll double up, on First and Main Street.
We'll only move the headstones.
There you go.
Exactly. Wow.
They left the bodies. They didn't move the bodies. Not that I can do a Craig T. Nelson, but
not many can.
One of my favorite parts of this that it's funny because it's such a fun approach to deliberately watch 1 minute because you focus on things that you don't when you're watching the whole movie, and I love that. It's a point that Marion climbs up with her shoe just to once she gets over the wall, just to look at it kind of with disgust and then throw it away.
Yeah.
Like why did you even take it up there with you?
Right. In fact, I missed the first time I was watching this. I missed that she threw it away. I was like, oh, there she's got her shoe with it. Wait, she doesn't have her shoe anymore.
Why?
But yeah, she was
why
kind of like, forget it.
you?
It's like if it was a sneaker, she may have held on to it. But she's like, well, a snake's been in this shoe. I don't want this.
I like that scene has a very Star Warsy feel to it when she's kind of coming out of the mist and the music. It's a really nice scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does. It does. You know what? When I looked at the hole in the back that they just blew through, it made me think of the hole that they shoot that Leia shoots to open up the trash compactor. with the blaster.
Yeah.
Look, I dig it. That's a little out there. That's a little out there.
You don't have to
but-
write that one down, Pete.
Yeah, you don't have to write that one down, Pete.
There's also a sort of it also, as I'm thinking about it now, it feels a little bit like that moment that, again, saddened Jerry so much weeks and weeks and weeks ago. Like right after Indy, Satipo ditches Indy, and Indy, gets his whip back, and there's that one little moment where it's just kind of like you see it's just kind of panning slowly past Forrestal's corpse on the thing. It's kind of like like this kind of quiet moment. That kind of is the feeling I get from this thing too. Just kind of like, oh, something huge and crazy just happened, and it's a little quiet and a little dark and a little gross, but I think everything's okay. But maybe not.
But it's a very nice chance to kind of catch your breath.
Yeah, for a second. I don't know what's going to happen next week.
Yeah, well, and you have no idea what happened to Indy.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
It's very clear. It's very clear. It's just Marion by herself. It's quiet. There's rubble, and she goes, Indy.
There should be some fan fiction where Indy was killed right here, and she has to fend for herself.
But thank God there's that really nice kind of soft, pillowy looking thing she can bury her head in.
Yeah, that's a nice bonus.
Yeah.
It's a little mint on her pillow. Yeah, she lucked out. It's a cozy, cozy chamber. I'm sure everything's going to be just, I think, yeah, they'll bring out the tea and crumpets in the next minute.
Well, Eric, you mentioned that this movie did have a big impact on you becoming an Egyptologist / archaeologist. Or when you first saw it, what happened?
So for me, it's one of those things where this for me, it came out when I was really young. So it's one of those things where I can't even remember the first time I saw it. It's one of those things that's just constantly formative, almost like Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back. And so for me, it's almost one of those things that are always there. And then, really when I can remember a new one coming out was Last Crusade. And it really just was one of those things where you just think, oh, this would be, so cool to do. And then, you go through, finish elementary school and go through high school, and then you get to college, and then, you meet people and you go, oh, wow, people actually do this. This actually is a career option. So that's the kind of thing where it just, once you start then taking, at least for me, you have that interest. It's something that always seems there. And then you read a book, and then that turns into taking a course on it. And next thing you know, you're majoring in it, and then getting a PhD, and thinking to yourself, wow, this is a nice thing to be able to study. And then it just comes around, you start appreciating it on a different level. So you get to really love the pop culture side, but then to in a fun way look at the things that they got right and the things that they got wrong. And for me, it's still kind of one of the things that I think the answer is different for everyone, but it's very rare that I meet somebody who doesn't say that they were who doesn't actually at one point in their life have a fascination with ancient Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we keep knocking all throughout the last 75 minutes all the things that Indy does incorrectly as an archaeologist, and minute 75 is a great example. It's a tough day for archaeology when a mint condition Anubis flies through the wall. But what does he do right? If there's one thing you could say, what he got right.
I mean, what I would say is certainly for his time period, the whole kind of dealing with some shady people to try to get antiquities, whether or not that was right, is certainly something that people were doing. What I would say is that he really does right, and this is something that may be a bit of a stretch. So let me know if you agree, if you need to reel me in. But one of the things that really is kind of foundational with archaeology today is not going in like, Belloc, where you're going in with the Nazis and you're aligning with, these evil guys, but really going in and trying to form partnerships with some of the locals.
Oh, interesting.
That's really one of the things. So, in that way, Sala, that's exactly what you want. You want to have a skilled partner, a skilled excavator who's local. They're in some cases, showing you, oh, this is where people are, illegally excavating. They kind of try to protect the sites, like you do. So that, I think, is really one of the things that is, even, for decades after this, not what people do, but really the past, 10, 15, 20 years, really, really trying to make that local connection and making those people part of what you're doing.
That is, that seems, that does seem like Indy seems to have those people everywhere he goes. Like, he knows people everywhere. He's got buddies. He's got people who can help him practically and who are, locals who can, help facilitate what he's doing. And there's
he respects them.
Yeah.
I would say with one exception, at least in this movie, at the beginning.
Oh, sure.
Where Belloc does what you just said. Belloc speaks Havidos, and it helps him. Yeah. And Indy has Barranca and Stupido.
Now come on,
and Jacques. So
Jacques came through. Come on.
Yeah. He thought about hanging on to the fish though. And not starting the engine.
Everyone in this movie is conflicted, at least for 2 or 3 seconds. Well, does anybody have anything else for 75?
No.
I want to see if Marion's just going to take a nice cozy little nap on that thing.
She's got that nice pillow, right?
She does. She's all set.
I'm sure Indy is trying to piece Anubis back together with, he's got his little brush, little archaeologist brush.
He probably found an exit and just left without Marion. That's probably what happened. Probably back in Cairo by now. Punk. Well, Eric, tell people again about your site so they can they know where to find you.
Yeah, if you're interested in the Egyptology or the history aspect, you can download my podcast, Eric's Guide to Ancient Egypt, on iTunes, Stitcher, any place you can get podcasts. You can also check out my website, Eric's Guide to AncientEgypt.com, Facebook, Twitter, all over those places. And this has been a lot of fun. Thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, thanks for coming. This has been
absolutely.
awesome.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's great.
It's been invaluable. Well, Pete, where can people find us? And I don't know. I'm trying to think of a clever thing to say. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, blah, blah, blah. If you want to blah, 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 blah. Well, yeah, again.
I apologize.
Eric's Guide to Ancient Egypt is one of my favorite podcasts. And if you want to check out my favorite episode, Akhenaten, the Fascist Pharaoh, is absolutely spectacular.
That's my favorite too.
Wow.
Oh, good. Yeah, I love that one. And if you want to find us, we're at IndianaJonesMinute.com. We even like archaeology, too. We have a little section on our website about it. And you can find us on Twitter. You can find us on Facebook. And join the Listeners Society. We have Indiana Jones and the Listeners Crusade.
Yeah, come join us. Join the conversation. And thanks again, Eric. This has been awesome. This has been a great few episodes.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And everybody else, please come back next week where we find out how long of a nap Marion takes in that tomb. On minutes, 76? Jeez Louise. We're clicking along in this thing. Minute 76 of Raiders of the Lost Ark here on the Indiana Jones Minute.
Wait. We just blew by this.
What?
The Ark of the Covenant has been melted down.